Okay, draw line is a function. And inside this, I'm writing the code for drawing which one line. So I'm saying for I in range of, what is this value here? 30. For I in range of 30 and print. So what I'm printing here, star. What I'm printing here, star. Now this star will be repeated how many times here? 30 times. Now this is a name. I mean, this is a named block. And what is the name of this here? Draw line. So can I call this draw line is one function or not? Yes. Now in my program, whenever I want to draw the line, I don't write this code again and again. I don't write this code again and again. Instead of writing the code again and again, you are writing this code how many times? Only one time. And you are trying to use it how many times here? Number of times. So what will I do? I just call the function. What is the function I'm calling here? Draw line. So what is the function I'm calling here? Draw line. So what is the function I'm calling here? Yes. What is the function I'm calling here? Draw line. But how many times you write this one? One time. And you try to call it how many times? Number of times. That is called as which one? Reusability. So functions allows to write. Function allows to write the code how many times? One time. And allows to use more than one time. So that is called as what here? Reusability. So functions allows to write allows to write once code once and use a number of times. Use a number of times. So this avoids which one? Code redundancy. Okay, this avoids which one here? Code redundancy. Means you don't require to repeat the same code again and again. You don't require to repeat the same code again and again. So that you can call it as code redundancy. So functions avoids this code redundancy. Functions allows to write code once and use a number of times. Allows to write the code once and use number of times. And this avoids what here? Code redundancy. Means allows to write the code how many times? Only one time, and use it how many times? Number of times. So that is called as reusability. Okay, you are writing the code once and you are using number of times. Okay, so then next one is modularity. What is the next one you have is a modularity. So what is the meaning of modularity is dividing it. What is the meaning of modularity here is dividing it. So this is reusability. So this is reusability. Then what is modularity is dividing application logic. Dividing application logic or programming logic. Dividing application logic or programming logic into what is that here? Small modules or small pieces, so that it is easy to understand. For example, I want to develop a calculator. Suppose I want to develop which one here? Calculator. So what is my application here? Calculator. Okay, assume that I want to develop a calculator. So what is my application here? Calculator.py. This is my application. And what calculator is having? The calculator is having number of things. So calculator is having number of functions. Okay. There is a function called which one? Add. There is a function called which one? Add. So add function having instructions. This is having instructions belongs to. This is having instructions belongs to which one? Addition. Right. Suppose there is one more function. And what is the name of this function here? Sub. Okay, what is the name of this function here? Sub. And this function having the instructions belongs to subtraction. So this is having logic. Logic belongs to subtraction. Logic belongs to subtraction, right? It means I'm trying to divide my programming logic into small pieces so that maintaining your application becomes what easy. So that maintaining your application becomes what easy. Now here you write the logic for which one? Division. Logic for which one here? Division. Suppose if any changes are there in addition, if any changes are there in addition, so where will you do that changes in add function without doing any changes in sub function as well as what divide function. If any changes to be done in subtraction logic, I do changes in which logic? Subtraction logic without doing any changes in addition and what? Division. If any changes to be done in division logic, I do changes in which logic? Division logic without doing any changes in subtraction logic and what? Addition logic. Now this you call it as which one? Modularity. So modularity is nothing but dividing. For example, you are developing a banking application. Suppose if you are developing banking application, so this application is having so many functions. You can find the functions like which one? Deposit. Okay, assume that there is a function called which one? Deposit. And this function is having logic. Instructions belongs to which operation? Deposit. And there is a another function which is called as withdraw. And this function is having logic belongs to which one? Withdraw. This is having logic belongs to which one? Withdraw. Okay, assume that there is another function which is called as, okay, printing balance, finding balance. Okay, finding balance. Now, this is having the logic related with what? Finding the balance. It means my application related, logic, I'm dividing into small pieces, and all these pieces are called which one? Functions. So deposit is one function, withdraw is one function, and find balance is what? Another function. Suppose if any changes has to be done, in deposit logic, you do changes in which logic here? Deposit logic, without doing any changes in which logic? Withdraw logic. If any changes has to be done in withdraw logic, you do changes only in which logic? Withdraw logic, without doing any changes in deposit logic as well as find a balance. So maintaining your application becomes what here? Easy. Okay, maintaining your application becomes what here? Easy. Now that you can call it as which one here? Modularity. So modularity is nothing but dividing application logic or programming logic into what? Small modules. So maintaining application becomes by dividing into small modules or pieces. Small modules are small modules. Maintaining. So maintaining application code becomes very easy. What is this here? So maintaining application logic, okay, becomes easy. Okay, right? Now reusability. Now this is first one. What is the first one? You have modularity. And what is the second one? You have reusability, means writing code once and using number of times. And third one is readability, is nothing but easy to understand. Easy to understand. Readability means what? Easy to understand. You can easily understand that, okay, now this is a logic belongs to addition. Okay, I can find out now this code is belongs to which one? Addition. This code is belongs to which one? Subtraction. Now I can easily understand that. Okay, I can easily read that. Okay, instead of combining all the things in one, you are dividing it so that I can easily understand. This is a code belongs to which one? Addition. This is a code belongs to which one? Deposit. So that is called as which one? Readability. And functions are efficient. How functions are efficient? Efficient. How the functions are efficient here is functions are efficient. How functions are efficient? Functions avoid the redundant code. By avoiding the redundant code, the size of the program is what? Decrease. By decreasing the size of the program, will it occupy the less space or not? Yes. When it occupies less space, obviously it increase what? Efficiency. Obviously it increase what? Efficiency. So functions are efficient because functions avoids what is that redundant code, avoids redundancy, code redundancy. Functions avoid code redundancy. By avoiding code redundancy, the size of the program is what here? Decreased. The size of the program is what? Decreased. Which occupy what here? Lesser, which occupy less space, which occupies what here? Lesser space. When it occupies less space, obviously it increase what here? Efficiency. Okay, right. These are the these are the advantages. These are the advantages of using. These are the advantages of using. These are advantages of using which one? Functions. Modularity, reusability. Okay, modularity, reusability, readability, readability, and one more is a efficiency. All these are the advantages of using which one? Functions, right? Then how to write a function? how to write a function? These functions, actually functions are two types. Functions are how many types here? Two types. One is called as a predefined functions. One is called as a predefined functions. And second one is called as a user defined functions. How many types of functions are there? Two types. Functions are two types. One is predefined and one more is a user defined. So predefined functions are also called library functions. Predefined functions also called which functions? Library functions. Library functions, and these are provided by Python. Like example is like print is a function, input is a function, maximum is a function, and minimum is a function, sort is a function, okay, type is a function, id is a function, like this. All these are integer function, like this. All these are which functions here? Predefined functions. I mean, these are the functions which are provided by the Python. So this predefined are also called library functions. Apart from that, you can build your own functions. When existing functions doesn't fulfill your requirement, then you build your own functions. And that functions, you call it as which functions? User defined functions. So the functions developed by programmer. The functions developed by programmer are called user defined functions or custom functions. User defined functions are, you can call it as custom. User defined functions are same thing, you call it as custom functions. So the functions developed by programmer are called user defined functions or custom functions. So you write your own functions according to your business logic or programming logic. You'll try to write your own functions, and that you can call it as user defined functions. Okay. Then how to write a function? Okay, how to write a function here? Now you can write a function. Now function is defined. Function is defined or written using using one keyword. What is the keyword you are using? So one keyword is there. And what is the name of the keyword you are using to write a function? Def. Def is a keyword. Def is a keyword which you are using it to write a function. Def is a keyword which you are using to write a function, right? So this is a syntax here. Okay, now what is the syntax of writing a function is? So what is the name of the keyword? Def. And it followed by what here? Function name. So what is the name of the keyword? Def, and it followed by function name. And function, so function you can write with argument. One minute. So okay, no problem. Now this is definition and function name, and you can write a function with arguments. You can write a function with arguments, or you can write a function without arguments. So generally a function takes the input and process it and gives a result. Okay. What function takes here? Function takes input. Function takes input, process it and generate which one here? Output. Every function whenever you write, You have to remember these things. Every function takes what here? Input. For example, print is there. Print function takes the input. What is the input it takes? The values what it should print it. Max function is there. So print function is there. Print function takes the input. Max function is there. For example, sum function is there. Okay, is it sum function takes the input or not? Yes. So this is the input which is given to which function? Sum function. And this input is received by which function? Sum function. And after receiving it is doing which operation? Addition. After adding it, is it displaying the result or not? Yes. What is the result displayed? 100. So every function takes input. For example, print. Print is a function and print function takes some input. What is the input is take here? Hello. And after receiving this input, is it printing on a console or not? Yes. So what is the message it display? Hello. So every function takes input, process it and generate what? Output. So how a function can take the input? A function can take the input in the form of which one? Arguments. In the form of arguments are the same thing. You can call it as which one? Parameters. You call it as arguments or you call it as what? Parameters. And function is a block. Function is a block and block is begin with what here? Colon. Block is begin with the colon and use the indentation. And within this function, you can provide which is string here? Doc string. Doc string is nothing but documentation about this function. You want to provide some information about this function. You can provide the information about this function by providing which one? Doc string. So doc string means this is multi-line and you are writing this in 3 single quotes or 3 double quotes. And after that, you include some statements. Whatever statements you want to include, just include which one here? Statements. Just include the statements. Okay. Now you can write a function. Function name is not a keyword. Function name is what here? Identifier. And function takes the input as an arguments or what is that? Parameters. And you write a doc string and then include either one statement or another more than one statement. But when you are saying a block should not be empty. If you want to write empty function, you just include what? Pass. If you want to write empty function means a function which doesn't provide any operation, then include which statement? Pass statement. Pass is not a, is it pass do any operation? No, pass is nothing but, what is a pass indicates here? Null operation. Pass is nothing but which operation? Null operation or nullary operation. Pass is nothing but null operation or nullary operation. That is called as which one? Pass, right? So definition and it followed by what name here? Function name and followed by arguments or what is that? Parameters. And whatever you write in triple quotes is called as which string here? Doc string. And you are including how many statements? More than one statement. Okay. But if you want to write an empty function, you just include the statement called pass. So a function can be defined. A function can be defined in different ways. Okay, it can be defined in different ways. That is function without arguments, or parameters, and without a written value, and function without arguments and with a written value, and function with arguments and without a written value, and function with arguments with a written value. So you can write a function in how many ways here? 4 ways. 4 ways you can write a function. One is a function without arguments or parameters, without written value. function without arguments and with return value, and function with arguments and without return value, without a return value, and okay, without return value. So function without arguments or parameters without return value, and function without arguments and with return value, and function with arguments and without return value, and function with argument and with return value. So how many ways can you define the function? 4 ways out there, right? So these are 4 approaches are there to write a function. So first we'll see function without arguments and without a return value. Function without arguments and without a return value. So this function doesn't return, this function doesn't return value or and receive values. It will not return value and it not receive the value, right? This function doesn't return value and receive value. It doesn't take any input, it doesn't return any output. It doesn't take any input, it doesn't return any output. So that you call it as function without arguments and without what? Return value. Without return value. Okay. How you are writing it? Just to see here. So you are writing a function by using the keyword called which one? Def. So def is a keyword and followed by name of the function. So function name is a keyword or identifier. Identifier. So what is the name of the function is? Suppose name of my function is what here? Display. And display, it followed by parenthesis. And within parenthesis, you define arguments are what? Parameters. Arguments are nothing but variables. But is it this function is with arguments or without arguments? Without arguments. Now this parenthesis will be what? Empty. It means, is it this function is defined without arguments? So within parenthesis, you don't have any variables. It means, is it this function is with inputs or without? Without. Okay. And then I'm just displaying one message. It is printing a message. Is it returning or printing? Printing. It means this function is not written any value. This function is not written any value. Just print the output. And I'm just writing this is okay. This is display. This is what here? Display function. This is display function. So I've written the function. By just writing the function, is it function is executed? No. By just writing the function, function is not executed. By just writing the function, is it function is executed? No. By writing the function, function is not executed. If I run this, is it any output here? No. In order to execute the function, it should be called this function as an executable statement. I write a function. See, I write a function and I should call the function as which statement? Executable statement. Now you can say this is nothing but is it main program or not? Yes. Can you call this as a main program from where your program execution start or not? Yes. Now this is a definition. We just write the function definition. We just define the function, but is it this function is executed or no? In order to execute the function, you have to execute the function as an executable statement. Now this is nothing but invoking. This is nothing but invoking function. This is nothing but invoking function or calling the function. So until unless you don't call the function, function is not called or executed. So what is the message displayed? This is display function. Can I call this function any number of times or not? Yes. Now you can see this is display function. So this allows to write the code how many times? One time, and you can call it how many times? Any number of times. So I write this function how many times here? One time, and I try to call this function how many times? Number of times. So function is not executed automatically. Function is, I cannot give any inputs to this function. Suppose if I'm writing display 10, Is it display 10? Can I send 10 to the display? No, because is it this function is with arguments or without? Without. If it is having some a, this will receive one value or not? Yes. If I don't write anything here, is it receive any values? No. If I'm writing a b, this will receive how many values? Two values. If I don't write anything here, is it receive any values? No. But I send how many values? One. But is it function is received? No. Then what will happen? Is it gives an error or not? Yes. So display takes zero positional arguments, but one was given. It takes zero. It takes zero, but you have given what? One. Is it allowed or not allowed? Not allowed. So I have to call it without sending any value. Now this is display function. This is display function. This is display, and this is how many times we called this? 4 times. So by writing the definition of the function, you have to remember this. So function is not executed automatically. So function is not executed. Function is not executed automatically. Function is not executed automatically. After defining function, it has to be called. It has to be called or executed. Okay, it has to be called or executed as an executable statement. As an executable statement. It has to be called or executed as an executable statement. Okay, but until unless you don't invoke it, is it function is executed or no? Function is not executed, right? Just to see it. Function. Now this is example of function without arguments and without a written value. It doesn't return value, but it will print the value. For example, there is a function. Now just now we have seen, what is the name of the function? Draw a line. Draw a line. Is it this function receive any input? No, because is it with arguments or without arguments? Is it with or without arguments? Without arguments. Now for I in range of some, what is that? 30, and print. What you are printing? Star, and you are repeating this star how many times? 30 times. And after drawing the line, I just insert new line. So if I run this program, will I get any output here? No. If I run this program, will I get any output? No. There's no output, right? Is it any output is displayed here? No. There's no output is displayed. There's no output is displayed, right? Because is it this function is called or not called? Not called. You have to call as which statement? Executable statement. I said draw line. Is it this can be called as main program or not? Yes. So my program execution starts from here. So draw line function is called. What draw line is doing? Is drawing the line. And after executing function, will it come back to the next statement or not? Yes. What is the next statement? Print. Print. What I'm printing here? Python. After printing the Python, again I'm calling which function? Draw line function. And after that, again I'm displaying the message. What is the message I'm displaying? Programming language. And after displaying this message, programming language, again I call the function called which one? Draw line. So how many times the function has been written here? One time. And how many times you are calling this function? A number of times. So reusability. Now you can see, I draw the line, and there is a Python, and draw the line, and there's a programming language, and again draw which one? Line. So how many times this code is written? One time. How many times you use this code in your program? More than one time. And that you call it as which one? Reusability. That is called as a reusability. Write code once and use a number of times. Write code once and use number of times is called as reusability. So one program can have either one function or more than one function. You can write any number of functions within the program. You can write any number of functions within the program. So memory for function is allocated. Memory for function is allocated. Okay, when memory for function is allocated, when the function is invoked. Memory for the function is allocated when function is what here? Invoked. Invoked, or what is that called? Until unless you don't call or invoke the function, the memory for that function is not allocated. And memory is deallocated. Memory is deallocated. Allocating means reserving. Deallocating is what? Unreserving. So memory is allocated for the function when it is called, and memory is deallocated once the function execution is completed. Memory is deallocated once execution of function is what? Completed. Once the execution of function is completed, is it that memory is deallocated or not? Yes. So memory for function is allocated. Memory for function is allocated when function is invoked or called, and memory is deallocated once the execution of function is what? Completed. Once the execution of function is what? Completed, that memory is what? Deallocated. Yes. But in one function, you can in one program, you can write either one function or more than one function. Assume that this is my program. So where I write function one, this is my program where I write the function one, right? Where I write the function one. Okay. So I just write the function one, and where I'm trying to display the message saying that inside function one. So where I display the message called inside function one, right? Then I'm writing another function here. And here I'm trying to display the message saying that inside function 2. Okay, inside the function 2. Then I'm writing another function called function 3. So inside function 3. Now I try to write how many functions here? 3 functions are written. What is the first function here? Function 1. And what is the second function here? Function 2. And what is the third function here? Function 3. How many functions are written? 3 functions are written here. Function 1, function 2, and function 3. Then if I run this program, will it all these functions get executed? No. Is it all these functions get executed? No. Because are you called to these functions? No. Are you called to these functions? No, these functions are not called. Now you have to call these functions or not? Yes. You are calling these functions by just invoking it, saying this is function 1, and you are invoking which one? Function 2, and you are invoking which one? Function 3. You are invoking function 1, function 2, and one more is what? Function 3. You're invoking the function 1, function 2, and what is it? Function 3. Okay, now once you run this, now this is a message inside function 1 and inside function 2 and inside what? Function 3. Okay, so any order you can call it. Suppose I can call function 2, I can call again function 1, I can call again which one? Function 3. But how many times? Any number of times you can call, and you can call in any order. So from here, you are calling all the functions. Okay, right. But this is a function without any input. This is a function without any input, without input. Now this function will not take any input. You cannot give any values to this function. You cannot give any values to this particular function. You cannot give any values to this particular function. You cannot give any values to this particular function. Okay, so write 3 functions and called functions, and then this is which one here? Output. Then next is now this is a function without arguments and without return value. But you can write a function without arguments and with a return value. You can write a function with arguments and without a return value. So we'll see function with arguments. First we'll see function with arguments without a return value. Function with arguments and without a return values. Function with arguments and without a return value. Okay, so function with arguments. Just try to understand. Function with arguments. Function with arguments. Function with arguments receive. Function with arguments receive what? Values. Function with arguments are parameters. Function with arguments are parameters. Receive values. Receive values. Receive values at the time of calling, or receive values from caller. Receive values from where here? Caller. Parameters receive values from caller. Receive values from caller. And after receiving values, what will it do? Perform certain operations. So Python allows to write function with different types or 4 types of arguments. 4 types of arguments. You can write a function with how many types of arguments? 4 types of arguments. One is called as required positional arguments. Required positional arguments. And second one is called as default arguments or optional arguments. And third one is called as variable length arguments. And fourth one is called as a keyword arguments. You can write a function with how many types of arguments? 4 types. First one is required positional arguments, and second one is a default arguments or optional arguments, and third one is variable length arguments, and fourth one is what? Keyword arguments. Now these are 4 types of arguments. You can write a function with these 4 types of arguments: required positional arguments, default arguments or optional arguments, variable length arguments, and one more is what? keyword arguments. But arguments are variables. Arguments are nothing but variables which receive values. Arguments are variables. Arguments are nothing but variables which receive values. Okay. From caller. Arguments are nothing but variables which receive values from caller. So first one is required positional arguments. Required positional arguments. Required arguments are required positional arguments. Both are what here? Same. So what is the meaning of this is, these arguments required values. These arguments required values at the time of calling the function. Okay. These arguments required values at the time of invoking or calling function. You must give the values to this argument. If you don't give the values to this argument, then Python gives what? Error. So these arguments required values. You must give the input to these arguments. If you don't give it, then it gives what? Error. So these arguments required values at the time of invoking or calling the function. If values are not given, to these arguments, now Python compiler generate what is that? Error. So Python compiler generates what here? Error. If you don't give the values to this particular arguments, means you must give the values for this particular arguments. If you don't give the values for this arguments, it will try to generate which one? Error. Okay. Generate the error. What is the meaning of this is? For example, I am writing a function. Okay, assume that there is a function 1 where a comma b. What is this? A, b are called as arguments. So this function is having how many arguments here? 2 arguments or 2 parameters. This function is having how many arguments? 2 arguments. You can call it as 2 arguments or 2 parameters. It means this function will receive how many values here? 2 values. I can give how many inputs to this function? 2 inputs. One input to the A and one is input to what? B. So after receiving it, I just print the value of A. So value of A is, I just print the value of A and print, I just write here value of B. Value of A is, the value of B is, this is a value of B, and then format, sum is, I just write what here? A plus what? B. So what is the name of the function here? Function 1. And this function 1 receive how many values? 2 values. Now if I run this program, is it function is executed? No. Function is not executed by just writing. By writing a function, function is not executed. If you run this, is it any output is given here? No. Because we just write a function, but is it called or not called? Not called. Until unless you don't call it, is it function is executed or not executed? Not executed. I have to call this function. I have to invoke this function. Then only function is called. Otherwise, it is not called. Now you can invoke this function as which statement? Executable statement. Now this is from where my main program starts, by writing which statements here? Executable statements. So I call the function one. Function one. Can I call the function one without sending values? No. I cannot call the function one without sending values, because function one required how many values? Two values. But are you send any values to this function? No. What will happen if I run this? Immediately it is given what? Error, type error. Function one missing what? Two required positional arguments, that is A, and one more is what? B. It is given error function one missing two required positional arguments. One is a A and one more is a B. So is it required to define the value of A and B? Yes. So the value of A is given what here? 10, and the value of B is given what here? 20. The value of A is a 10 and the value of B is a 20. You can see value of A is a 10, value of B is 20, and sum is what? 30. I can call it function one. I'm saying 100 comma 200. So 100 is received by which one? A, and 200 is received by which one? B. After receiving these two values, you can see value of A is 100, value of B is 200, and sum is what? 300. But can I change the order of sending the values? Yes. If you want to change the order of sending value, you send it with argument name. You send it with argument name. Now the value of B is 90. The value of A is some 50. So first you are sending the value of which one? B, and you are sending then value of which one? A. Okay, now once you run this, value of A is 50 and the value of B is what? 90, and the result is 140. Now, but first 10 is a value of which one? A, and 20 is a value of which one? B. Then it will print the value of A. What is the value of A? 10. What is the value of B? 20. What is A plus B? 30. Then again you are calling function 1 by sending the value of A. What is the value of A? 100. What is the value of B? 200. What is the value of A? 100. What is the value of B? 200. What is the value of A plus B? 300. Then call the function 1 by sending B value. What is the B value? 90. What is A value? 50. So A value is 50, B value is 90, and this value is 140. Is it any statements to execute? No. Will it execution of program is completed or not? Yes. So it means if you want to call the function, you should know what? Function signature. You should know function signature. Function signature means you should know the name of the function. Okay, you should know prototype or function signature. If you don't know function signature or function prototype, can you call the function? No. If you don't know the function signature or function prototype, you cannot call the function. If I want to call the function, first I should know what? Function name. Second, I should know what? Arguments. Is it this function is having how many arguments? If I don't know how many arguments are there, can I call this function? No. So to invoke any function, you must know the function signature. If you don't know the function signature, then you cannot call it function signature or function prototype. Call it as function signature or function prototype, right? So this is for example, there is a function. There is a function called what is the name of this function? Simple interest. Simple interest. Simple interest is a function. To find the simple interest, what is the inputs required? Amount. So simple interest want to calculate the simple interest. What is the input required to find the simple interest? Amount. Inputs. How many inputs it required? Amount. Second one is a time. And third one is what? Rate. So is it all these are required to find the simple interest or not? Yes. Now this function takes how many inputs here? 3 inputs. Amount to time as well as what? Rate. And then calculating simple interest. by saying amount into time into or PTR by divided by 100. Then after that I display saying that simple interest. Is it returning value or displaying the value? Displaying the value. Okay, now this function will calculate what here? Simple interest. Now, whenever you want to calculate the simple interest, you calculate it. I just call the function. What is the function I'm calling? Simple interest. I want to calculate the simple interest by sending the value some 5,000 and time is 12 and the rate of interest is 1.5. Again, I call the function simple interest. And again, I send the value some 9,000, some 24 and 1.8. So how many times I call this function here? 2 times. Because I want to calculate the simple interest. How many times here? 2 times. Simple interest, 900 and simple interest. Yes. But is it these are required or not? Yes. If you don't give the values to the required arguments, the Python gives what? Error. Must be given values to this arguments. Okay. All right. Okay, function. So function not only receive values. Function not only receive values. Function not only receive values, it also return values. Function not only receive values, it also return value. Now function with, you have other types of arguments that also I'll tell you. Function with arguments with what here? Return value. Function with arguments and with return value. It is not only receive values. It is not only receive values. It is also return the values. Okay, right? So no problem. Yes. So function with arguments and with return value. A function not only receive values. A function not only receive. A function not only receive what? Values. It is also return what? Value. A function not only receive values. It also return. It also return value. But a function return value. A function return value. A function returns value using one keyword is there. And what is the name of that keyword? Is a return keyword. One keyword is there. What is the name of that keyword you are using? Return keyword. So return is a keyword. Okay. So what is the syntax of this return is, so return it followed by value, or it followed by which one? Expression. But after returning value, it terminates the execution of function. After returning value, after returning value, after returning value, it terminates execution of, terminates execution of what? Function. After returning value, it terminates execution of the function. After returning value, it terminates execution of what? Function. Okay, for example, now printing is different than which one? Returning, right? For example, I write a function called, suppose I write a function called which one? Add. Add is a function which takes how many values here? Two values, and do which one here? Addition. After doing addition, what it is doing is, it is returning the sum of these two values. Is it print statement is there or return statement is there? Return. If it is print, which one will print? Function itself is printing it. But I don't want the function should print it. I want the function should return that result to which place? Calling place. To the calling function or calling place. It means, for example, I want to add it. I said I add 10 comma, what is that? 20. So the value of A is what here? 10. And the value of B is what? 20. And C equal to which one? A plus B, which is 10 plus 20 is what? 30. And after that you are saying return C. Is it C value is returned here or not? Yes. So when it is returning, then somebody should hold it or not? Yes. Then I should assign this function to one variable. So who's holding the C value here? D. Who's holding this C value here? D. Because is it function is returning value or not? Yes. If the function is returning the value, somebody should catch it or not? Yes. Now this function is assigned to one variable. And what is the name of this variable? D. So when you assign a function to a variable, a function returns the value. So this C value is assigned to which variable? D. And here I'll say print print what is this? Sum is. Okay, sum is. I just display the value of which one? D. So I just run this. Now it is a caller who can just use that sum and perform certain operation. Now you can see sum is what here? 30. Then I'm saying E equal to add, okay, 10 comma some 30. Then print format sum is what is this? E. So it will display the result of E, which is nothing but 40 or not? Yes. Then I can say F equal to add 10 comma 20 plus add what is that? 10 comma 50. So what is the value written by this add function? 10 comma 50 means what? 30. 30 plus add 10 comma 50 means what? 60. 30 plus 60 is what? 90 is assigned to which variable? F. So function not only print value, it return the value. Printing is different than what? Returning the value. Now what is the sum is displayed here? 90. So when function returns a value, this function returns a value 30, And here it returns the value 60, and 30 plus 60 is what? 90. But how a function is returning the value? By using the keyword called what? Return. By using the keyword called return. How a function is returning the value? A function is returning the value by using the keyword called which one? Return. Return is a keyword. What is a keyword you are using? Return is a keyword. Okay, what is a keyword you are using is return is a keyword, and so that will return the value, right? Return is a keyword, and that you are using it to return the value, right? Okay, right, fine. So this is an example here. Yes. So return followed by either value, return followed by either value, or return followed by what here? Expression. It can be anything, right? It can be either value or it can be either expression. Now sum is 30, sum is 40, and sum is what? 90. Sum is 30, sum is 40, and sum is a 90, right? Okay. Now for example, one more example if you see. Okay, suppose there is a function is even. Is even function receive the number, and after receiving number it returns. Is it number is even or odd? If number mod 2 equal to 0, I'll say return true. Else return what is that? False. Return true, otherwise return false. So definition. Definition. Okay, I'm writing a function. What is a function? Factorial. Receive what here? Number. And factorial is 1. And for I in range of 1 comma number plus what? 1. And factorial equal to factorial into what? I. And this function return which value? Factorial. Getting on it means this function will verify is it even or odd, and this function is it even or not, and this function returns which one? Factorial. There is a function called which one? Power. Is a function which receive the number and power and return num to the power of what? P. So how many functions I have written? 3 functions. So based on your application requirement, you can write any number of functions. Based on your application requirement, you can write any number of functions. You can write any number of functions. Based on your application requirement, you can write any number of functions. Okay, right? So by writing a functions, you cannot by just writing a function, you cannot execute it. But in order to do this, you want to find out whether it is even number or not. Then I'm saying result 1 is even. I want to know whether it is 4 is a even number or not. And what is the result here? True. Because 4 mod 2 remainder is what? 0. 4 mod 2 remainder is what? 0. And result 2 equal to, I want to find out factorial of some 5. And I try to print what here? Result 2. Then I want to find the power of a number. Result 3 equal to power of, I want to find out the power of 5 to the power of 3. Then I try to print what here? Result 3. So I call the function is even by sending the value 4. After receiving the value 4, it will verify. Is it 4 mod 2 is remainder 0? Yes. It is written the value true. Then I call the function called which one? Factorial. And the factorial function receive the value 5. And 5 factorial is written. Okay, so fact equal to fact into I. So that is nothing but 1 into 2 into 3 into 4 into 5. So that value is written in which variable? Result 2. Then power of 5 to the power of 3. What is the value of number 5? What is the value of p? What is the value of number 5? What is the value of p? 3. And 5 to the power of 3. 125 is written inside what? Result 3. You can just see here. So once you run this, true, and 5 factorial is 120, and 5 to the power of 3 is what? 125. Okay, it is a true, and 5 factorial is 120, and 5 to the power of 3 is what? 125. So this is a function with arguments and with arguments and with return value. Is a function with arguments and with return value. But here in this, I've written number of functions in one program. Is even, factorial, and one more is a power function. So that is true, 120 and 125, right? So fine. We'll see more on this, like how to work with the functions in detail in the next class. We'll see. That is on Monday, right? So we'll stop it here today, and Monday we'll continue with this functions, right? Thank you.